welcome to another live. Yes, okay. And then also, for those who catch it on the replay, okay, another video. Welcome to another video. Okay, y'all, I want to talk about this again. I have alluded to this frequently in previous videos, and we got to talk about it again because the power of God, we cannot fathom it. We cannot fathom it. And because we can't fathom the power of God, that you must never underestimate it. See, that's what the narcissists do. All right, the narcissists underestimate the power of God, and when they do, that's a big way they screw up. Is overestimating themselves and underestimating others. Well, when they underestimate others, yeah, they underestimate the power of God. 'Cause remember, the power of God is on the inside. God is the spirit on the inside. And so yeah, see, the devil knows that. The devil knows that with God all things are possible. That's powerful. With God all things are possible. Come on now. That is powerful. So some people be like, well, how is she doing 2 years after that physical assault? Oh, we doing great. Don't underestimate the power of God. That's what the Jezebel case study did. Yeah, when she put bruises where she put them and other things that she did. I know all about everything she did. God revealed it to me. And so how we overcome all that, right? Because we're no stranger to weightlifting and things like that. God had us take it up a notch. Never underestimate the power of God. And so he's like, yeah, honey child, he said, we're bringing you back around full 180 and then some. He said, that Jezebel case study, she thinks that she won. He said, no. He said, this is not. Okay, he said, this is not. God told me, he said, listen, he said, honey child, he said, this is a new you. He said, that muscle that got, that muscle, okay, that muscle you're rebuilding, he said, that's new muscle. He said, it's going to be better than ever before. He said, she might think that she won whatever it was she was trying to win with our body trying to steal our physical strength. And God said, yeah, but watch this. He said, what you had before that, he said, the physical strength you had before that, he said, watch this. I said, oh boy. He said, strap in, hold on. That's what God said. Don't underestimate the power of God. That's what the narcissists do. Underestimating the power of God will get you in trouble every single time. Because God's going to come up, he's going to prove you wrong. That's it. That's what he does to the narcissist. He proves them wrong every single time. He proves them wrong. Because they continue to underestimate the power of God. See, they know, chosen one, they know that the power of God is on the inside of you. But they underestimate it. And they try whatever it is what? No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. Glory be to God. And so we don't underestimate the power of God. No. And I want to say thank y'all for your continued patience. For those of you who have been with us for a while, you have seen yours truly go from this, okay, with the long hair, to bloating out from the Jezebel case study, okay, from her physical assault. You saw that. And we now, through all of that, became aware of our autonomic nervous system. And we are learning more about our body. Okay? And those of you who are joining us now, you're going to see some videos where you see the transformation taking place. And it continued because of the power of God. So you got to remember that God restores, right? He restores. He promised it. Right there in Jeremiah 30 verse 17, he said, I'm going to restore your health. I will heal thy wound because, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but because this matrix in the world wants to call us an outcast. See, the Lord favors his outcast. What the world calls an outcast, that's where the Lord puts his favor. He says, I am going to heal thy wounds. I'm going to restore your help because they called thee an outcast and lied about the fact that trying to say that no man seeketh us, chosen one. Oh, we got fellow warriors out here seeking this ministry every single day. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. And so God, the power of God, y'all got to understand, because I'm learning even more. I've been sitting here and there's some things behind the scenes that's like, and I know everything is always working out in our favor. And I've been thinking about, okay, because, you know, my human nature, I got to have a plan B and a plan C. I really would like this to blah, blah, blah. And I heard the Lord say, he said, honey child, he said, I need you to make that trip in the morning on your way out. He said, stick to the plan. And I said, okay, I'm stick to the plan mode, like big time. But my mind keep wanting to think, well, what if? And God said, stick to the plan. Because that's the power of God. And let me tell you something. Today, let me tell you what the plan was before I got up here to go live, right? We got the videos done. I got more content coming for y'all on the Patreon channel, too. Oh, you're going to love this. Oh, yeah. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's an awesome revelation from God. And another trick of the devil with excess water, overhydration. You'll get it, okay? Now, that being said, the plan for today, he said, I want you to get up. He said, we're going to get out this door by 9 a.m. Bye. It was 8:45 a.m. Okay. All geared up and ready. Go to the park. Get my walk in. Get me a good speed walk in. Okay. Then come back here. Get you something to eat. You know, we got our protein shake. We had our collagen. We got our creatine. All right. And we did some question mark curl. We did some upper body. Okay. All right. He said, okay, now. All right. Now, walk down them steps. Get in the car. Get to the park. On the way back, he said, I want you to stop in that store and get you a salad, soup, some chicken. I need some animal fat. I said, okay. And a few other things for the business trips. He said, I want you to be ready. He said, I need you to be ready. I said, okay, we're already ready. Mental prep. And so that's what I thought I was doing when I was like, okay, but there's other thing over here. No. He said, stick to the plan. He said, I want you. He said, he said, I've got you. He said, I want you to do it because today everything worked out exactly as he needed it to. We got the stuff from the store. We came back. We got it put away. And we've been making up our juices. Okay. Got some more of those made. And then for travel. And he said, I want you to have this, and this. We're going to make some other things also to take with us. But I needed to hard boil some eggs. So we did that this morning before we left. Because they need to cool down. So he did all that. Came on back. Got us something to eat. And cleaned up and everything. He said, now, he said, we need to go take a swim in the pool. Okay. And so we did. About an hour or so at the pool. And come back. Get cleaned up. Pull our face out of the jar. Create some videos. And then get on here and go live. But in between, we're getting stuff done. That's how God ordered it, and everything worked out exactly the way it needed to. Because he said, that's the vision that you had. He said, I gave you the vision. This is how you're going to do things. Stick to the plan. And so when I stick to the plan, everything works out in our favor. That's the point. When God gives you a plan and he puts it on your spirit, he'll stick to the plan. Believe the power of God, because it's going to work in your favor when you stick to the plan. And don't let the devil distract you with this or that. I had some phone calls, you know, that were coming in and whatnot, but I didn't let it distract me. I said, if it's important, they'll leave a voicemail. I said, we busy. We following God's plan. And so here I am in my mind. I'm like, he said, okay. He said, you can wait. He said, you can wait and do that thing later on. He said, but I want to show you something. Ooh, y'all know I love it when God says, I want to show you something. Because see, that's the power of God. That's the power of God talking right there. So yes, we know that God is within. The power of God is within. And so he said, did God exercise power over circumstances too? Absolutely. I just demonstrated that for you. Like today's circumstance. Okay, we're still detoxing, yes, a little bit, but we're getting a better idea where we're at in all of that. And he also says, I need you to practice. I said, what's that? He said, I need you to practice. So I don't have my handheld mic with me, but let's see. I do have some pen. He said, grab that pen. He said, grab that pen. He said, that's your microphone. He said, I need you to practice. Okay. So practice it'll be. Because that's all part of him keeping us ready. We got to be ready. We got to be ready because my testimony, he said, your testimony, he said, the power of God can be seen through our testimony. I want y'all to put that in the comments below. Testimony. That's it. Just that one word. Even on the replay, I want you to put that in the comment. Testimony. Because the power of God will be seen through the testimonies of chosen ones. And he said, I'm going to make them watch. So yes, he does exercise power over circumstances. Absolutely. Because it's his plan. Okay? His plan no matter what. And God will always pull us through any and all circumstances. Or storms, if you want to call them that. Storm. And I know that siren is, yep, I don't know. It is what it is, y'all. It's a busy highway. And just so you know, this is a very busy city as well here in Florida. But, yeah. But, you know, and when you say karma is bought by God, okay, well, the world, okay, karma is another term for reaping what we sow. Okay? So, yes, God is the author. He said, what a man... Well, a man will reap what he sows. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, we are going to reap what we sow. You put out positive energy, you're going to get that back. You put out negative energy, you're going to get that back. Okay, that's just one example of many. We reap what we sow. Okay, and so yeah, that also known as karma. Okay, and that's the thing. These evildoers out here, the narcissists, every single time they underestimate the power of God, they just dig themselves another pit, and they gonna fall in it. They try to dig the pit for us, but they're the ones that fall in it. See, that's their karma. That's their karma. So, yes, okay? They're just desserts. That's what they call it in criminal justice. Just desserts. That's what they call it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, they get what is coming to them. I call it the boomerang effect because we see it. They don't realize that when they try, it's like the Matrix, using radio frequency poisoning, right, to negatively impact the health of humanity. Well, guess what? They can't do it to everybody without doing it to themselves also. Think about that. Okay? They can't. They cannot do what they do to us without doing it to themselves. So yes, that Jezebel case study, when she launched a physical assault on yours truly, yeah, she did it to herself too. And doing it to herself because she underestimated the power of God. I wasn't supposed to load up my car and leave that day. Not in her eyes, but we did. And here we are. Full circle. Well, the living example, okay, of how God works. But you got to trust him. See, that's the thing. A lot of people don't do that. They give up and they give in. They don't have the patience needed. Okay? Because through tribulation worketh patience. You know, God teaches us that for a reason. He says, through tribulation worketh patience. And I tell you, yeah, it's true. Because I have had to learn how to become more patient than ever. I have never had this amount of patience waiting for God to come through and waiting for this muscle to fill back in. Or I know the old version of me would have been like, man, when's it going to start happening already? You know? But me now, I'm like, one day at a time. And I look at the lessons and I go, okay, hold on a second. Every little step is a big progress report for me. So, for example, I noticed something today that, well, in my posture, okay, we've been working on it and getting it back right. I mean, there's been a fluctuation with it here, and I didn't know why. Well, excess salt water, that's why. We need to get a bunch of that out of the way. And so we've been doing that and getting a lot of that excess water out of the way so the muscles can come back together and they can start to rebuild and repair and fill in those spaces where the water was hanging out. So once that happened, and then, okay. And so now I was like, all right, and I could feel it. I said, oh. And so when I have a piece of clothing that is fitting a lot better and more normal, that's progress. I'll take it. That's why I'm talking about patience. I was like, you know what? That's cool. If that's the only thing I get today, I'm happy with that. But I will tell you that when God, see, because that prospering, like I talked about yesterday, God prospers from the inside out because that's what God is. He's on the inside. He's going to prosper us on the inside first. And so you got to remember that. That's the power of God. Prospering on the inside first, and then it comes out. Okay? And so when he's doing that, he often does it more than once in a day. I'm just giving y'all that to motivate you and to understand what it means to just be grateful. That's it. I was like, that little bit of progress right there. I said, that piece of clothing is fitting. It fits better. It fit before, but it fits better and more normal. And I'm like, yay! I'll take it. Thank you, Heavenly Father. But then there's been several other things throughout the day that he has prospered. But we don't have to talk about all of that. You know, it's amazing because that's the power of God. And then we stick to his plan. When he tells us to stick to the plan, we got to stick to the plan. Now, sometimes he'll allow us some leeway to go, well, okay, I know I'm wanting to do this too. Or can I add this? And it depends. Okay, it depends on whether or not it's going to cause any kind of disorganization in the kingdom. So God will say, okay, for example, there was something else that I wanted to do, but I had to go to a different place one day. There was one place that he said, okay, we're going to stick to the plan. He said, there's this other place on the way back. I said, I know, I really would like to have that one instead of that one. And he was like, okay, that's fine. You know, he said, that's fine. It's a certain brand, okay, of a particular low salt product that I get that one place doesn't have that the other place does. There's just one place that you go to, they don't really have a whole lot of anything that's no salt added. In fact, I haven't. Anyway, so I said, I'm not going to get their tomato sauce because it's going to be too much sodium in that. So I'll kind of run by this other place where I know they do have a can of that because I want to make my juices. And so things like that, as long as it's not going to cause disorganization in the kingdom, okay, God will be like, all right, we can do that. But never underestimate the power of God. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind always, always, always. And these narcissists out here are going to get what's coming to them. We ain't got to do nothing. Remember, vengeance belongs to the Lord. The power of God. The power of God. And so a criminal will get caught through their own action and traces. You are right about that. You're right about that too. That it's just a matter of time. And I've heard when I was in undergrad, I heard that. And I said, oh my gosh, okay. Yeah, I said, well, the law enforcement, they're like, yeah, it takes patience because they know that the criminal, okay, they're going to leave what's called trace evidence. So when they are able to collect that and the patterns start to tell a story, so okay. And so all they have to do is just wait for the criminal to basically tell on themselves. Absolutely, just like narcissists do. Eventually they tell on themselves. And so You are spot on about that. And so that's also another example of how the power of God works. And God's like, yeah, just wait. Yeah, God said, just wait. Just be patient because you know they're going to tell on themselves. They're going to show their true colors. Yo, I got me some green tea on ice right here. Let me tell you some antioxidants and potassium. Yeah. So keep that in mind, okay, everybody? The power of God works in a plethora of ways. I mean, we cannot put a number on that, and we can't even fathom. But you know how they talk about there's strength in numbers? Okay, well, there's some truth to that. But when you think about God is a spirit, okay? God is a spirit who is omnipresent. He is on the inside of every living creature. Okay? So think about that for a moment. All right, the number we have to work with as far as the world population, to help y'all put this in perspective, the power of God, and just how significant it is. Well, we really can't even do that, but this just gives us an idea. But it's far greater than this. If you think about the number they give us, which I honestly believe is much higher, I believe there's a lot more people on this planet than 8 billion. I know it says 8 billion plus, but I truly, in this day, this is, right, in this era, and this day and time, I believe that there's way more than that on this planet because babies are being born every single day. So, yeah, and there's not, I learned this, there's not that many people dying every day. They want you to think there's that many people dying every day, but there's not. Babies are being born every day, but there's not that many deaths taking place because when you learn that the world is a stage and that a lot of these things out here are events, stage event, and that numbers are made up. Remember the scamdemic? Okay, that all that stuff was made up. Numbers were made up. Okay, there weren't them. No, they had actors. We saw it in the rabbit hole. Actors. We saw that little body bag there, right? We saw some movement in there. Come on now. Never mind. All right, they're making that stuff up. So that tells us there's not as many people dying every. You might hear sirens, but that don't mean somebody dying. Okay, that could be that could be law enforcement that just caught a criminal who told on themselves. You just never know. But anyway, that being said, babies are born every day. So I believe that there's way more than 8 billion people on this planet. And so when you think about that, God is a spirit on the inside of every single living being. Narcissists don't get access to him. Okay? Narcissists do not get access to the Spirit of God. Chosen ones do, because Jesus saves our soul. You can only get access to the God Spirit through Jesus. Right? Pretty adamant about that in the Bible. So, when you think about that, okay, that's why I said chosen ones, that 144, remember, we covered that in the book of Revelation. That number don't matter. But I want to give y'all this perspective. When you think about God is a spirit on the inside of every single living creature, including animals. Including animals. The bird, the real one, not the drones. Okay, the real animals. Cat, dog, cows, horses. Okay? Yes, even the armadillos. Alright? Yeah. Little chipmunks. Prairie dogs. Oh, if y'all can look it up. I remember as a truck driver across Texas. Oh man, they're so cute too. They're like a cross between a chipmunk and a gerbil. Okay? They're right. Yeah. Okay? They're yeah. Prairie dogs. Texas. Look it up. Prairie dogs. They're little. They're so cute. There's a God spirit on the inside of them too. Yeah, it's on there. I know there's gonna be something. They're called prairie dogs in Texas, and I remember seeing them when I was a truck driver. And I said, "Oh my gosh, it's like a cross between the chipmunk and a gerbil or a hamster even." So I was like, "Oh my God!" And they're adorable. But for some people, their own property, they could be a nuisance. But anyway, the power of God, the Spirit of God, is on the inside of them too. Okay? Every single living creature on this planet. So there's way more than 8 billion people on this planet. I know that. But when you include animals, God is the spirit on the inside of every single living being. He is omnipresent. That's the only way he can be omnipresent. So when you got one of them deer looks at you, the God spirit on the inside of that deer, it sees you. Okay? And so, I mean, of course, the God spirit's on the inside of you. He sees you anyway. But I'm just letting y'all know the power of God is, it is so significant. We can't even grab it. It's not going to fit in any, I don't, man, it's huge because it's omnipresent. The power of God is omnipresent because God is the spirit who is omnipresent. It's the narcissists and the evildoers and things who do not have access to the God spirit because you got to have Jesus in order to get access. And so when they don't have Jesus, they continue to conform to this world and they will never be transformed. But God is a spirit. He's omnipresent. The power of God that's on the inside. I mean, when you think about that and you go through your life and you reflect and you think about, my gosh, how in the world did I make it through that? Well, that's the power of God. Don't underestimate that. I would tell you that I think about these things now. Like I see, okay, all these living creatures out here. That's the power of God. Oh my goodness. That cat, that dog, and they got the God spirit too. Now, whether or not they have access to it, I don't know. But, wow. And when you think about that, how it really does. It opens your mind. It's like, man, the power of God, that God spirit on the inside of all living creatures on this planet. It's way more than 8 billion people. And, wow. It's amazing. And this is another reason why we cannot underestimate the power of God because of that. Seriously. You don't want to underestimate the power of God, period. But when you think about how significant, how large the power of God is in that way, being a spirit on the inside of I mean, come on now. That's a lot of power. But a lot of people just can't tap into it. A lot of people don't know. And then, of course, we got fellow chosen ones that God hasn't awakened yet. And so I'm like, man, here we go. And it's a wonderful thing. Yeah. I'm just giving you all this so that you can put it in perspective. That, I mean, we cannot underestimate the power of God at all like that because he is in all living creatures. That's great. Because then okay, so you go someplace. Okay, let's say you've got to take a trip. And you go and you check into the hotel. The clerk that checks you in. There's a God spirit on the inside of them. And so all we can do is pray that God spirit will do you right. Because if they're a narcissist, I've had that happen, y'all. It had a couple of, several, the hotel case studies. There's 3 of them. I talk more about those on the Patreon channel. I'm going to tell y'all, wow, yes, the God spirit was on the inside of those clerks too, but they were narcissists who did not have access to him. So you have to keep that in mind. And it's all about us having our discernment because that way we can pick up on this stuff. And it's not walking on eggshells. It's like, I know the clerk that checked me in here. Well, let's just say that prayers, because, it's always at God's appointed time. Okay? But he's young, and he doesn't know yet. So that's why we can only pray for him. And as we do for everybody and each other. Don't forget about that. And that power of prayer comes from the power of God. Woo! The power of prayer. But the power of God. It is powerful. Prayer is so powerful. You got to believe. That's part of prayer. Staying in prayer at all times, no matter what it is that we are experiencing, whatever it is we're going through, we got to stay in prayer. And it becomes second nature. You're like, how do you stay in prayer? Well, it's just subconsciously running. Always in prayer. Always. We put the armor of God on. That power of God right there. Absolutely. The power of God is in the armor of God too. And so we are, okay? We are, listen y'all, we are blessed. I saw a t-shirt. Somebody was wearing a t-shirt the other day. I got to share this with y'all. And I told him, I said, I like that t-shirt. Because I had to run in the store and get me a bag of ice. Now, I remember coming out. And he had the shirt on. It says that he's too blessed to be stressed. I said, I like that shirt. Too blessed to be stressed. You got that right. That's the power of God. Yeah. When you know that, when you have everything you need to make it through the day, you are blessed. Come on now. That's gratitude right there. That's that gratitude that God says we must be giving thanks daily. Take a look around. Make sure you're thankful. Because when you know, I can look around this room, I'm like, I got everything I need to just keep this thing going, to keep it moving. I got everything I need. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I don't have to go looking for something to be blessed. I already got it. It's right here. This tumbler right here. I put my ice in there, and then I pour me some green tea on the top of that ice. I got antioxidants, I got potassium, I got nutrients. I got everything I need to quench my throat if I need to. I'm blessed. I'm grateful for that. Very grateful. So, things like that. And that comes from the power of God. Don't underestimate that. Because when God sees that you are continuing to be thankful for what you already have, that's when he will double the blessing. Triple for your trouble, I hear him say. Ooh, didn't I do a motivational message about that one time? Let me bring it back. I heard the Lord say, he said, triple for your troubles. When he sees you being grateful, that means you humbling yourself. When you stay grateful and you know you're blessed because you got everything you need to keep it moving. And you ain't out here asking for more than what you need, right? You ain't out here begging. I might have this window clings on my car letting people know if they would like to pledge a service grant / donate, okay, because that's what the world says. I have that on the car, yeah, letting them know if they would like to help. They can do so. Because CHA is a ministry for trauma healing with God's wisdom and more. You can help by donating to blah, 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 blah. That's that. If they do, they do. They don't, they don't. That's it. We let go and let God. And I understand that, of course, I would expect them to pull up the YouTube channel or the website and check us out. Okay? Of course. Patience. Because that's how a lot of ministries get funded. I'm learning that. And then, of course, other ministries get funded by using pyramid schemes. Watch out for those. We ain't playing that game. No. See, the power of God helps us get that discernment. You see, that's from the power of God. Don't underestimate that either. But I've seen it. I saw a couple of ministries on Facebook, or one in particular, and I'd never heard of her before. But she's trying to sell that pyramid scheme with the, And I see the game of narcissism being played out, the spirit of religion. So we have to be careful about that. Remember, God said that we're living in those times. A lot of false prophets out here. Okay? Yeah, a lot of false prophets and claiming to be Christ. And they're not. We've got to watch out for that. And, so I wanted to get on here and talk about this because it's important to understand that the power of God is something that we should never, ever, ever, ever underestimate. And then also don't take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the things yours truly has learned on this journey so far as the muscle rebuilding and things, that I have learned to not take my physical body for granted. I don't think I ever was, but if I give myself enough time to reflect on it, I'm sure I can come up with a couple of things where I may have done that. And I think it's important because God, the power of God created his biological body the way that he created it. And he created it for its own repair and things like that. It'll do amazing things when left alone, as long as we give it the nourishment that it needs when we know what it needs, okay? And so, that being said, that's the power of God at work. But we don't want to take advantage of it either. I learned that about this physical body. I said, we will never do that again. I said, I'm not ever going to take advantage of it. I'm not going to take it for granted either. Now that I understand radio frequency poisoning, the excess salt, and the metal toxicity, and how the devil is trying to steal our muscles and our physical strength, I said, well, we ain't going to let him have it. That's the power of God speaking right there. Y'all going to hear me preaching a lot about this because I do it now. I'm like out and about, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I see you, devil. I said, no. Get behind me, Satan. Because I can go in the store. Now I'm at a level where I can tell if the radio frequency is trying to tug at a certain part of my body where there's still a little bit of that salt water hanging out, because there's muscle still yet to rebuild there. It's in the process, but I can feel it. And I can feel when the radio frequency is trying to tug at that area of my body, and I'm like, no, you don't. I'm going to snatch that back. I said, you ain't getting it. I said, no, devil. I said, you ain't stealing that back. I said, you can't have that. I said, no. I rebuke in the name of Jesus. I said, the devil, you can't have my muscles. I'm not going to let you have it. That's the power of God talking right there. Because we learn that that's exactly what happens over time with that radio frequency poisoning and then other things and toxins, chemicals, and all of that. How the matrix of targets our health through our muscles. Because remember, repair the muscle, repair the nerves, your autonomic nervous system, your ANS, your inner child. So when you do that, you take your power back. And you start to recognize when the devil's trying to steal your locus of control over your muscle. Be like, I said, you ain't getting it. So I ain't going to let you have it. Just like with these narcissists, when they want to try and love bomb, we go, zip. We don't listen to it. Not going to listen to it. No way, no how. And so that's the power of God. On an individual level, we learn that power and authority on the inside of us. No. But we have to become aware of when that's happening. You have to become aware of the enemy and what he's trying to do. And this is what it's all about in this ministry, to get that heightened awareness so you know how to self-care. You know you've got the power and authority on the inside of you from God to go and get the things that you need. He's going to make sure. He says, oh, okay, you know what? He says, I need you to get some creatine. He's going to make sure you got the money to get it. You got to trust and believe. That's the power of God. He's going to make sure that you have what you need to get what he needs you to get to do his perfect will. So, every single time, for chosen one, that's how it works. God is going to make sure we have everything. He provides for our every need. Always has, always will. I preach this and teach this frequently because it's true. And I know that a lot of people have a hard time believing that because they still walking and living by sight. You got to knock it off. Got to walk and live by faith and faith alone. Remember, the just shall live by faith. That's the power of God. Don't underestimate that. Never underestimate the power of God. So I want to see if y'all got any other question. Okay? So I just want to get on here and give y'all that. So you can get a better perspective. I was talking about there's more than 8 billion people on this planet. And when you think about the God Spirit on the inside of every single living being, including animals, you cannot underestimate the power of God because it's on the inside of every living being. I mean, that's significant. That's beyond significant. That's huge. And yeah, I mean, you can't put a number on it. That's like in Proverbs chapter 8, when we were talking about the wisdom, you can't put a price tag on wisdom. There's the power of God right there too. Don't underestimate that. Do not underestimate the power of God, and do not underestimate his wisdom. Because if you underestimate his wisdom and you underestimate his power, yeah, he gonna prove you wrong every single time. And that's again what happened to the narcissists and the evildoers, is that they underestimate the power of God. They don't get God's wisdom. They underestimate it too, and that's where they mess up. And he proves them wrong every single time. It's why they get it wrong when it comes to God's chosen ones. They're gonna get it wrong about us every single time. They think that we're not gonna make it. We already made it. See, that's the thing. They don't realize it's on mindset. A lot of these narcissists out here think that this ministry has failed. I said, no, we just getting started. I said, not only that, the moment we got started in 2019 on Quora, we started building the ministry. We're already successful. I want y'all to put that in the comments below, even on the replay. Already successful, because we are. That's the power of God. It's all about mindset. We are already successful. So these narcissists out here want to think that this ministry, no, that does not exist. Okay? It's not an option, which means it doesn't exist. So never forget that. All right? But they think that we are not succeeding or whatever based on their perception of reality that the Matrix teaches them. They think that wealth means money. They think that you got to have money to prove success. No, you don't. God says, watch this. He said, you got to have access to the God Spirit. That's what you got to have. And then you get your health restored. When God restores, health is the true wealth. The devil knows that. The healthier you are, the less you need anything in that matrix for your health in that way. You know what I'm saying? And you can trust God and only God. All right? So keep that in mind. So that wraps up today's Let's Just Chat, everybody. Seriously, we got to keep it moving. All right, keep it moving. And I look forward to seeing you, okay, in the next Bible study. All of them, okay. At the time of this recording, we are still covering Revelation, okay, chapter 11. And we're going to get on that before long as well. So keep on keeping on. I will see you at CHA Saturday Bible Study. And then in other live streams and on the replays. All right, so y'all catch this on the replay. Drop those things in the comments. I'll see you there. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.